Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of FPL Affairs, the podcast that discusses our 9-month-long love affair with FPL, including the ins and outs that keep us awake at night. In this first episode of 2025, we look back at the first half of the season, discuss what our takes are from it, and any lessons that have been learnt from us, as well as some of yours mentioned in the groups. Anyway, a lot to talk about. Let's get cracking.
And there's Mo Salah. There goes Haaland. He's on his way again. He's hungry. He's scored. Ice cold precision from Palmer. Oh, Saka! That is a diamond of a goal.
Hello and welcome to the much long-awaited episode of FPL Affairs with me, Matt, aka The Veteran, and my co-host, Jack, aka The Master. I will let him gather his thoughts because we are recording this immediately after Jack's team Southampton have played Manchester United in game week 21. I've promised him I am not going to go on about it, and I am hoping he does have a box of tissues nearby.
I'm like immune to it now. It's like bounces off me games like that now. So I'm all good. We're allergic to points. It's a thing.
Southampton allergic to points.
Yeah, we're allergic.
Well, I suppose we shall see whether our FPL teams are allergic to points. I was looking back, and I don't think we've actually updated via the pod since game week 17. So when we show this week's points tallies, the old rank I put up is that from game week 17. So we'll see how much or how little we have fluctuated since then. Okay, let's take a look at our game week 21 teams. So, main week for this week, really, as it's been such a while, we're not just going to catch up with game week 21, but trying to give a main focus on what lessons we have learnt and the members of the group have learnt in the season so far, as we're past the midway point and the Second Chance League has started. Right, talk us through your team this week, Jack.
Well, apart from the glaringly wrong United player choice, it was a amazing week for me. Coming off the back of some Reds, which isn't great, which we'll get to in a minute. But Anthony Robinson seems to just be able to produce regardless of a clean sheet. Go on.
Those goals were ridiculous.
He either gets a clean sheet or an assist. He never gets both at the same time. I think Kieran pointed that out in the chat, and he's so right. Nick Jackson is yet to reward my patience. I feel like he's a poor man's Haaland at this point. I'm just going to keep ploughing on with him. Sarr got me an assist, which was nice. I benched Wood for him, so that was a hurt, but it's only a 3 points difference in the end, so I'm okay with that. The only player to blank in my attack is Mo Salah, which is a sentence I haven't said all season. But I made the right choice of not captaining him this week because your Newcastle team are unbelievable. And so is their centre forward. Isak propped up with some unbelievable goals. I was very happy with that, just to sit there and watch that. He was still at 100% ownership around me, so I wasn't on my own captain in him, but very much the differential captain if you include sort of Palmer and Salah.
Yeah.
Gordon producing the goods. I brought him in. I don't think I think he might have blanked only once in the last sort of 6 game weeks I've had him. He's been pretty unreal, to be honest.
He's last time he blanked was in November.
Yeah, so no, he hasn't blanked for me. I think he got, to be honest, he was a bit of a slow burner. I think he got 2 assists the first 2 weeks I had him, but he started to chip in. It was Murphy that was producing, which was a bit
Yeah.
frustrating for me. But no, all in all, a good week. Flecken getting me 3. I'm yet sure what to do with him. The clean sheet was on at one point, which I was quite excited about, but that died a death. Gabriel didn't get his assist for the own goal, which I shall be writing a strongly worded email to FPL about that. And then decided to
Mm.
get a yellow card, so that was a shame. Fernandez on the screen got 4 this evening. Last time I checked, he was on 2 bonus. That might change, don't know, but I'm all right with that. He was my move in this week for Diogo Jota, who actually outscored him, so that's brilliant. But he didn't start, so I was right again about that, and
Yeah.
I'm quite happy with the move. It just takes away headaches. Although I'm considering bringing him back in for the double, depending on sort of who gets rested in the build up to it. But no, all in all, good week. Nice green arrow after a load of reds, which luckily you haven't seen because we haven't been recording. So yeah, 84 points.
Give it 2 or 3 slides.
Yeah, 84 points. Put me on a green arrow, which was lovely.
Yeah.
And boosted my rank by 100k. So I went from like 282k to 182k. 13 points over my safety. What that was 164k when Southampton were winning 1-0, but we won't talk about that.
Mm. And as I mentioned in the opening, how the old ranks that I've left up, which I've added in brackets, game week 17,
Yeah,
that's actually now shows up
yeah,
that since game week 17, in your ranks gone up by
fireworks. Yeah,
3,000.
3k. Yeah, unbelievable period of the season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which
So
will.
for those that are watching, you haven't missed much. I've just been banging my head up against a brick wall over the Christmas period,
But you're
but we're all right.
back to Green Arrow ways anyway.
Back to Cree. Yeah, it's nice to see. I'm over it. Just need to. Last time we were on the pod, I was like, "Yeah, great. Now let's push for the top 100k." And now, wallop, I've gained 3k in what's that? Four game weeks. Lovely
Yeah.
job. Lovely with a 100k bounce this week, so that's great. Great, good. Although good job we didn't record last week. This would have been a different conversation.
Or even or even if we would have recorded on Tuesday, which was the initial thought.
Yeah, yeah, but
So,
yeah, part
yeah,
part of me was a little bit like I don't really want to talk about it. So I don't want to talk about it.
but
But
right.
yeah, spared my blushes. How did you get on?
Well, same captaincy, which we'll come to later when we go through lessons learned from this season so far. But yeah, still with Raya in goal, another delightful 2-pointer from him, and
Mm,
Gabriel's 1-pointer, which from I actually watched the highlight of that for the first time this evening, and yeah, Howie did not get allocated the FPL assist from that is bonkers. I think it's
mm,
supposed to because it's supposed to have sliced the shirt of Dragusin or something on the way to Solanke's stomach.
no idea.
But yeah, rest of my defence, Munar's clean sheet, but again, no attacking returns. Hall clean sheet, which was a little bit lucky because, to be fair to Wolves,
But they had the ball in the net, didn't they?
yeah, we went off the ball as soon as we scored the third goal and the front three got taken off. We were on the back foot for that
Mm,
from that point. But anyway, midfield: Gordon, Palmer, Salah, and Diaz. So same as you with Gordon's 9-pointer. I got him in game week 18, I think. First week I had him, so he's returned every match.
mm,
Palmer's goal, Salah's blank, which I was obviously delighted about,
yeah.
and proud of myself for going with my gut, which again will go on again in a while, and
Hmm.
not captaining Salah. The stomach pill really was Diaz. Did Ahmad to Diaz, and Diaz has blanked since. And then tonight, Ahmad's got a hat trick. So with the double game week official announcement for 24, I feel as if I can't really sell Diaz.
Mm.
Feel a bit like I'm sort of stuck with him until that double game week's done. But then they've got a really good fixture afterwards. But
Yeah, but it's an easy move to Mbermo, whose fixtures get quite good at
yeah, yeah,
game
that's the
week
plan.
25.
Jackson's wonderful assist and yellow card and 7 shots on goal or something ridiculous.
Oh, do you know what? Just quickly on Jackson, he could have had a hat trick so easily. Again, similar to Southampton, I just think he's allergic to scoring goals. He is basically Darwin Núñez, but he just has so many chances and scores no goals.
Mm. So, but yeah, pleased with the Isak captaincy. Proud of myself for following that. Gave
Yeah,
me 79 points. Gave me 10 point improvement on the safety score. Um, finishing with 79. When we last did this slide, game week 17, I had a rank of 743k, and that's now up to 442.
boo.
But heading in the right direction anyway.
That's unbelievable. You were 4.5 million at one point on this pump.
Well, we'll come to that in a moment as well.
Yeah,
So yeah, pleased with the green arrow. Start of the game week, I was 575k. So I've gone up about 130k this midweek round, I think.
can't be complaining there. That's very good.
Yeah, not too bad.
Nice bench boost would have helped though. The 15 on your bench.
Yeah, that's from Rogers
Rogers.
and Robinson. And actually, before we go on to the three things from the season so far, briefly, the again that was the bonkers thing about having had Rogers on the bench for an assist,
Mm,
which was frustrating with Diaz because I very much, and it was right up until the deadline, I was messaging in the group saying I'm really split between do I start Diaz or do I start Rogers, which was, yeah, tough
I
decision.
thought,
And then
yeah, that's a tough one to be fair.
and also how Robinson from watching the highlights, and this goes as again like Kieran's got Iwobi from Fulham, and how both his goals he gets, he goes from blank after blank after blank after blank to a 15 pointer. Yet you watch the highlights and the goals are basically he's put in two crosses and the player he's crossed to misses the ball, the goalkeeper's wrong footed, and the cross just goes in. And
Hmm.
because Robinson had done the probably like very short pass to Iwobi in the build up before the
Mm.
cross, Robinson gets 2 assists. So quite
So luckily you don't sound too bitter about it.
no, well again it's Robinson I was never with the fixtures the players
Yeah,
had.
yeah.
He was he was not going to start.
Mm,
I would have probably played a back four if he
yeah.
started. Briefly go back to the team. Yeah, Robinson was on my bench. If I had I have played him, well, to be fair, he was second on the bench. He was behind Rogers, so he
I
was
was about to say you wouldn't have played the back four, I don't think.
no.
But you
And
might have played him. Yeah. The
if
only
I was
player you're
to,
playing him over is Munoz, isn't it, really?
mm. But anyway, that's this week. Three main things from the season so far for you. What would you take?
Well, I wish I'd sold Haaland earlier I'd say that's the big glaring error. Um,
The Haaland fear.
the Haaland fear, yeah, and that's that word actually, fear. Um, I think my biggest lesson this season would be not to play with fear.
Mm,
I feel like I have been playing with fear. I also feel really weird this season because I feel like anything if I'm not in the top 100k, it's a failure, which is
mm,
madness, absolute madness. But for some unknown reason, in my head, after sort of two top 10k finishes and a 40k finish in the last three
mm,
seasons, if I'm not in the top 100k, I feel like I'm failing at this game, and that's
mm.
just nuts. I need to just be a bit more chilled about it. But um, yeah, fear for me. If I didn't sell Haaland out of fear, I um, I've again. This is in one of the slides later on, but I'll touch on it briefly. Is sort of like fixtures versus form. I feel like I've been on the wrong side of that a little
Mm,
bit. For example, the Haaland, he was obviously bang out of form, but the fixtures were so good that I couldn't sell him. Same with Jackson, is another
mm,
one in my team whose fixtures have been brilliant, but he's obviously bang out of form. Um, and just players like that, really. I think I need to be a bit more form based as opposed to fixtures based.
mm.
Um, and then I guess my other thing would be is there's been a couple of times where I've should have captained. I know this is probably going to be similar to you, but again, should again I didn't do it this week. Basically, I learned from my mistakes this week in the sense that I captained Isak because I
Mm,
didn't. I had a internal dilemma of whether to do Palmer out of fear, to do Salah out of fear, and I stuck with my guns and did Isak, and it's basically the reason why I've had a very good game week.
mm.
So I am. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that would be the all my three lessons are fear based lessons. So I guess it's just all one lesson as to not play with
Mm.
fear. And our old co-host FPL Affairs Mark is basically testament to that. And he plays a very different game to me and just basically picks players because he, do you know what I mean, based on their fixture or based on their one week fixture or based on their current form. And he's absolutely smashing it.
Mm.
And I
It's,
think I need to be a bit more like that and play with less fear.
I think since we're spending most of this particular video concentrating on reviewing the season as the first half and about what the sort of most common lessons learnt have been, what I'm going to say for my three things from the season so far is not necessarily going to be lessons learnt because that's going to come up anyway. I think I'm going to say one that it's possible that Manchester City can actually have a bad run and
Yep.
that they're not, and that, yes, they've been so successful over Pep's tenure, but it is possible for them to be human and actually be in
Mm.
a bad run of form and not just be playing poor but still winning and still scoring goals and still keeping clean sheets, that's actually gone completely to pot. So yeah, that Man City aren't indestructible. So that's one thing I've taken from this season.
Yeah.
I think second thing I've taken from this season, which has been different actually, is I think it took a lot longer for a sort of core template team to come to the forefront, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So I think there were the pool of popular players. was a lot bigger, and there were less players that, like a lot of the spine from last season, didn't start the season that great.
Especially in defence, I
Mm.
would say, with teams like Arsenal not defending particularly well. Same with City defenders, and then obviously Forest providing such good value, and Newcastle providing such good value of late. Yeah, the
Mm.
defenders to get the defenders right has been very hard.
So yeah, I think it's been a tougher start this season with that in mind. So I have managed to pull together images of Jack's team's performance over the season so far and mine, and presented them in different ways. We'll show up yours first.
It's going to be a pretty flat line.
So yeah, looking at
Yeah, it is.
those of you on podcast listening, we've got a line graph up taken from Fantasy Football Hub, which has tracked Jack's team overall rank since game week 1 through to now, and it's also got next to that, taken from the official app, is game week history from game week 1 to game week 20. I haven't been able to get game week 21 up on top yet, but the line graph is up to date. So your highest overall rank so far this season was 45,386 in game week 3, and your
Yeah,
worth was 1.95 million in game week 1.
yeah.
So your thoughts on looking at your rank tracker line?
Well, the 45k in early on in the game, so there's so much rank disparity. It's crazy early on.
Mm,
It's when you sort of get, I like to think, sort of between from game week 12, 12, 13, 14, around that time. That's when players that don't play anymore stop. Do you know what I mean? Stop playing. That's when players that use all their chips early on in the first 4 game weeks, that's when they sort of fall off and stuff like that.
mm,
So I think it's been a pretty consistent season, a pretty steady season. I think that I've just had a slide where I've spoken about playing with fear and playing safe, and that's very much reflected in my rank. There's been
mm,
no volatility in it really. Um, in fact, the majority of it is between like 2 lines on that. And like, I mean, right at the beginning, we said in game week 17, I was 185k, and now I'm 182 or whatever it is. So
yeah.
yeah, I think looking at it, it's it's all about perspective, and it's all about sort of where you've been. So, for example, you were 4.5 million, which
Mm,
I'm not going to steal your thunder, but you were obviously 4.5 million and have had massive gains after gain after game after green in order to get to a really nice rank of 400 odd K, which has been really exciting for you as a player, I'm sure. Whereas I've just had possibly one of the oddest seasons I've ever had in FPL, where I cannot seem to break beyond 150k. I can't seem to get beyond it. I just can't seem to push into, like, if you go game week 10 is 177, and then it goes 231, 244, 204, 228, 181, 151, 185, 199, 227, 282, and now I'm 182. So between game week 10 and game week 21, my rank has got worse by 5k.
yeah. In
So
10
I've
weeks.
just, and do you know what I mean? And the furthest away from 182k I've been is last week at 282k, so it's 100k. So I've been within 100k of a rank for
Mm,
11 weeks, which, to be honest with you, has made the game very tedious
mm.
and not very exciting and
And
not
looking
very
at
enjoyable either.
looking at the arrows as well over that period, starting with game week 10, you've had eight red arrows and three green.
Hmm.
Um,
What that highlights to me is that there's players I don't own that are highly owned.
mm,
Do you know what I mean? That's what that highlights to me. That highlights to me that I have obviously had three big greens
yeah,
somewhere, or three decent greens, but I've not had big reds. That's the
mm,
thing. Like a red arrow, like what's that one there? That one of them is 180. Yeah, game week 17 to game week 18 is 185 to 199. I think there's a smaller one than that, but I just haven't had big reds. So it's just I've not had big reds, I've not had big greens, I've not had big gains, I've not had big losses. I've just had a
mm,
really boring season. Apart from this week, which was like the first time I've remotely got excited, thanks to Isak,
yeah.
because I actually grew a pair and captained the player that I thought was actually the right captain. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm playing with pressure. I feel like I'm playing with pressure, and I feel like I'm
I hope
playing
that's
with.
not. I hope that's not coming from that the alias of the master on the
Well,
pod.
no, it isn't, but it's not. It's not, because at the end of the day, I'll sit here and if I was playing rubbish, I'll just sit here and front it up anyway. But it's not coming from the podcast. It's coming from the game itself. I've had
Mm,
three brilliant seasons in a row, and I guess now all of a sudden my expectations have just gone.
mm,
They've just gone. So for me, I'm like, I don't know, who am I like? I guess I'm like Arsenal, who were scraping into Champions League for a period of time, then
yeah.
were finishing like sixth, seventh, and eighth for a period of time, and now they've come second a couple of seasons, and anything other
Mm,
than top two this season is going to be a disappointment. That's kind of where I'm at.
yeah.
I'm just a little. I've had three brilliant seasons, like I said, an 8k, a 7k, and a 40k,
Mm,
and now I just feel like I'm. Everybody that knows me knows I play fantasy football. Everybody that knows me knows I'm good at it. People ask me questions.
mm,
Just do you know what I mean? And that all of a sudden I'm just feel under pressure
mm,
to be good at it, and it's just messing with my head. And the reason why I did well this week is because I was just so over the game
yeah.
after going all the way to 280k that I just threw a Hail Mary and captained Isak, and it was the right move.
Mm,
But yeah, to to summarise, I'm happy because at the end of the day, I'm in the top 200k. There'll be people watching this that are in the millions going, "What's he
mm,
moaning about?" I'd love a season like that. Believe me, you wouldn't. It's dull, but
mm,
I can't sit here and moan about 180k rank. If I play my chips well, or if I get another couple of decisions correct, it can easily change in a week. Easily.
yeah.
If I'd have gone if I'd have gone Ahmad over Bruno, I might be sat here talking to you in fact, might be genuinely sat here talking to you in the top 100k.
Yeah.
So it's just swing. Things just swing. If Nick Jackson next week finally hits the target and
I'm gonna
actually hits the
cry.
back of the net, right? That actually happens. Or just things like that. They just things need to just land for you, and they've not really landed for me. But I'm just trying to stay patient. But staying
Mm,
patient is really boring.
yeah. Yeah.
Which again, we'll go on to yours now.
Yeah.
It's,
So
it's
mine,
like
the
the
line
total
graph
opposite.
looks, whereas yours was a virtually vertical line on game week 3, and then wibbling along rippling along near the top. Mine's basically like it looks like there's sort of two peak mountains and then just a drop off in the middle. Now I'll tell a lie, not start the first, even the first few weeks, 1 to 4, wasn't as I wasn't pleased with the opening 4 weeks with my rank for that. It wasn't as good as I've started the last, and then that coinciding with how well Liverpool shot out of the blocks and the lack of Liverpool investment I had. I entered a panicked wild card in game week 4, and if you're looking at the graph that I was around about 1.76 million overall rank at that point. And yeah, game week 6 to 10 killed my season, killed it. Dropping right down because I think I took Salah out. A couple of things that didn't work out in the wild card. Game week 9-10 was sort of trying to fix it, and it wasn't working to the extent we're getting
I was
4
going to ask
million,
you.
four
Go on,
million
sorry.
499,008 was my overall rank at game week 10. That was when I was really sort of, can I be bothered with the rest of this season? But I tried to look at, because there was a fixture swing game week 12. And I think it also coincided with when like Newcastle were being very inconsistent. We'd have a good game, then we'd have a terrible game and just couldn't hold any form, and it just wasn't enjoyable at all. And having game week ranks of between 7 and 8 million, over 8 million,
So you've had
5 weeks, it just felt just like I cannot be. But I don't think game week 11 I didn't necessarily do anything drastically different.
Well, that was going to be my question, because you've had 9 green arrows out of the last 10, obviously not including 21, which is obviously another one. But have you done anything differently? Have you thought differently? Have you managed differently? What have you done
Um,
anything differently? 'Cause that's an amazing run. That, let's be honest, that's incredible.
Actually, I know one thing I did different, which I think was game week 11. Took out Haaland.
The old switcheroo.
I took out Haaland. I took a -4 and took out Robertson,
Oh yeah, I
Haaland,
remember Robertson.
Haaland, and because that was another thing I tried to, in the early part of the season, trying to get into the slightly cheaper way into the Liverpool defence.
Yeah, he got benched, didn't he?
Yeah, and so that switcheroo was when I had to take a hit to get Isak in because I didn't have the funds for it, I think.
Yeah,
And yeah, it
because
started
it was either going to
rapidly.
be Jackson or Isak, wasn't it? And if you didn't have to take a hit for Jackson, but you did for Isak, I think, if I remember rightly. I mean, what a difference that would have been if you'd have gone. Obviously, you did sort of later down the line on another forward, but if you'd have gone Jackson over Isak, that would have changed a lot. Getting Isak in as early as you did would probably be a huge reason as to why you got the green,
Mm,
because he was obviously massively owned at the beginning of the season, and everybody started the season with him pretty much. And then, like you said, Newcastle had a really poor start to the season, really inconsistent. He wasn't scoring, and then he got injured as well, didn't he? I think,
mm,
and then he's just smashed it. He scored in 8 games in a row, which obviously takes you back to game week 13, and you got him in game week 11. So you had him for all of that spell. Other players, such as me, got him
mm,
in sort of 17, 18. I think some people jumped on him in 15. So
and I
you had
got
him, you had Hall and Gordon, and
I got Hall in game week. I got Hall in game week 12
yeah, I think
because
we
that
did
was
that. Both
kind of.
did that.
I remember at the beginning of the season there was lots of talk around him, and I was saying to people in the group, I was saying I'm not comfortable with, as a Newcastle fan, his starting, how nailed he was
Mm,
in the team because of the different options we had. And then it got to game week 12 when I sort of became, look, we're hitting a little bit of, we got some good fixtures, and he looked as if he was nailed.
mm,
And the first few weeks had to be patient, but I was still getting green arrows. Then he started getting good returns, and which helped, and his price was going up, and
mm.
his ownership was then started rapidly going up. And what's actually funny, and I smile about this now, is that one red I've had since game week 10, which was in game week 19.
Yeah,
The
I know
reason
this.
I got a red was because I didn't have the faith in the Newcastle defence. I benched Hall and he got 12 points.
Yeah,
Had I trusted and had the Newcastle fan faith in the defence, I would have played him, and that would have been a green as well.
yeah. A meteoric rise.
Yeah, I would say I would say still recovering from from
Yeah.
from those weeks, to be honest, because I don't think I've necessarily done a drastically different approach in management style. I don't. So perhaps there was just a mixture of unlucky decisions, and I've made a bit better ones, or ones a bit more longer term. Actually, saying that, one thing I have done differently, I've been a lot stricter, and this is thanks to you. I've been a lot stricter with and disciplined with hits. I think I've taken three -4s, and that's it. So that's minus 12.
I haven't taken a single hit this season.
I remember like two seasons ago, across the whole season, I lost 50 points in hits.
Mm,
And it was only when I actually reviewed this, started taking a proper review of the season at the very end, and breaking it down and looking at bits in details. Right, how many transfers did I make? How many hits did I take? And thought a lot more carefully. And it was then where I was like, whoa, I actually cost myself X amount
mm.
of points. So
They're just
there's
killers.
that, and my next sort of semi New Year's resolution, which I think when I'm at a happier place ranking wise, yes, I've had a good rise, but when I'm when I'm more content with it. So I think when I'm more around where you are now
Yeah.
or higher, then I'll start rolling a bit more. I think at the moment each week is sort of right. Is there one transfer I can make that is not just for the following week, but so that's kind of both our seasons so far, as they have gone. And